Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first edition in 2023 of Sold the Land, brought to you by Minorities for Medical Marijuana. My name is Stanley Atkins II, and I am the National Director of Hemp Farming and Technology with Minorities for Medical Marijuana, a nonprofit 501c3 with chapters in over 25 states, including our new chapter in Belize. Sow the Land is our program that is dedicated to hemp farming and the ancillary technologies that surround cultivation of industrial hemp. You can be a farmer, cultivator, you can even be an extraction artist. There's always a place where hemp ties in together. And with Sow the Land, our goal is to bring you all of those different resources in a variety of forms and platforms and bring their information to you like we're doing tonight. These events that we do monthly build up to our annual hemp symposium hosted in Atlanta, Georgia. So you make sure you go to minorities4medicalmarijuana.com, sign up, and make sure you become a member to stay updated about all of our future and current events. Tonight's guest is brought to you from Piedmont Hemp Co. I'll be introducing my guest. If you could bring him on, Mr. Keith Parker. Good evening, Mr. Keith Parker. So, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit about Mr. Parker. He is the CEO and founder of Piedmont Hemp Company. But not only has he worked from hemp and legislation, he's also a military veteran. Some information about him. His parents moved him from Washington, D.C. to Greensboro, North Carolina in 1975. Our community had this aura of work hard and dream big, he says. Greensboro, North Carolina was uber rich in history for African Americans. The city was prominent during the civil rights movement with the Greensboro 4 sit-in. He says that we lived on the southeast side of town and he attended the first Black high school in Guilford County, James B. Dudley High School. Upon school graduation, Mr. Parker joined the North Carolina Army National Guard using his Montgomery GI Bill to pay for college. He graduated from NC University with a degree in computer science and commissioned into the United States Army. His children are Nicole and Miles, who were born during his military career, and they've experienced the greatness of a military family life. He says that he served 20 plus years and experienced many different deployments and combat tours. Toward the end of his career, military physicians prescribed a cocktail of medications to treat a myriad of symptoms such as post-traumatic stress syndrome. And he said that he became depressed as these medications began affecting the functionality of his organs, thus far reducing his quality of life. In 2010, his father, Mr. S.D. Parker, insisted to the heirs of Johnny and Doretha Parker survey, partition the farm and agree on a sustainable business model. The heirs couldn't agree on any business concept, so I decided to build a legacy of heirs of John S.D. Parker. In 2014, cannabis docuseries Cannabis by Sanjay Gupta captured my spirit, he says. In response to this series, I donated North Carolina Industrial Hemp Association. He donated to them in 2016, and those donations eventually established the North Carolina Industrial Hemp Commission. He founded Piedmont Hemp Company in 2016 and worked with North Carolina A&T University's Agriculture Department to support our farm with growing industrial hemp. In 2017, their farm received a license from the North Carolina Department of Agriculture of Industrial Hemp Commission to establish a growing pilot. So here he is, Mr. Keith Parker. How you doing tonight, Keith?
Hey, thanks a lot, Stan. Thanks for inviting us, and we're glad to be here this evening.
Man, thank you. I know you and I have had a couple of previous conversations, and it felt good. And it was kind of nerve-wracking because it's like, wait a minute, I'm hearing somebody talk my language. You know, we connected on different levels. Like, we're thinking along the same path, and that's just a testament to what we're trying to do in this industry. Individually, so many of us can do so many things, but collectively, what we can do together, the pooling of our resources and the coming together of military veterans, I think it's going to serve us long term for the betterment of not only our society, but the hemp industry as a whole. So, we got you here tonight. I'm excited because I told you your name keeps coming up in conversation. It's always good things. I was on an Uber conference today and somebody brought your name up, and it's always been synonymous with positivity, in quality products. So I've got some questions for you tonight. And
Yes, sir.
if you feel free to share this video, you can also comment. If you do have comments, please drop them down in the chat. And if we can, we'll try to get to them. So if you do have comments for Mr. Parker or myself, please feel free to reach out. So starting here, what was your motivation to enter the hemp industry, even though where you were, it was in its infancy stage?
So the interest in the hemp industry really came from the advocacy groups that I participated in and seeing their passion. Hemp Industries Association, Vote Hemp. When North Carolina passed their House bill in November 2015, House Bill 313, it was just an emotion that came through me that said, because I watched the Sanjay Gupta series in 2014, I became so captured by it that there was something that was healthy, that could improve your emotional outcome. And I was already caught by that, right? So I was wanting to learn more. I never thought North Carolina was going to pass the wonderful legislation they did. And in November 2015, when that legislation passed, I was hooked. And so it is a passion of, number one, I became to understand the plant, and I was looking something for my health because I knew the drawer and the cabinet full of medications that I had to take every day, I knew that wasn't sustainable. And my doctor's reports were providing those data analytics, right? Poor liver function, poor kidney function. So from all of that and that passion, and once I learned how to leverage and use the plant in the way it was originally designed by the Middle, Near, and Far Eastern civilizations, and I started seeing improvements in my health, there's no way I could turn back.
You hear it so often, especially in this industry of alternative wellness. So many people that you come across got to the position where they are or doing what they're doing because of a patient need themselves. I have a similar story. I was dealing with a lot of GI problems. You and I kind of touched on it, some of which I'm still dealing with. And it was upon, hearing doctors say, we don't know. Here, just give me more pills, give me more pills. And then when I realized, wait a minute, I'm eating more pills than food.
Right.
There's got to be something else out there. There's have to be something else. And it really touched into, you said it became their passion once they passed legislation. And again, for anyone that's watching, knowing the rules is half the game.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Kobe Bryant was one of the best. He said every offseason he read the rule book. So knowing legislation and what's going on in your state capital, what's going on in the laws federally and locally, that is a big part of this industry.
Yes, sir.
So once you start doing that, you find out what you want to do with the family farm and the business. How did you go about, even beginning to source equipment, materials, products?
Well, that term bootstrap is something that it was really very relevant, because during the 2014 and prior, right? Because even when the 2014 Farm Bill passed the legislation that allowed pilot programs such that the states can learn about this plant in various regions, the fact of the matter is there was no money behind it. It was, if you want to grow a pilot program, hey, we can get you a license, but you're going to fund it on yourself, right? There was no banking. There was no insurance. As a matter of fact, if you mention hemp out in the open, the cancel culture will immediately come start trying to take you down a couple of notches. And so everything was bootstrapped internally, but the gracefulness of the phenomenal people that were in the North Carolina Industrial Hemp Association, the Finn Rascos, the Dr. Youngs, I met folks from NoCo Hemp, which is a phenomenal event, the Preston Whitfields. Those adopters, and there were adopters before them going back to Woodstock, but it was those folks that invited me and our friends in just because of our enthusiasm. And it was so inviting, it just caught the passion. It's like, wow, if this is what the plant is about, where cultures can come together and commune and just have a good time and look after each other in a community connection I'd never seen before, I couldn't turn back. And so in order to source the materials, it was because of the North Carolina Industrial Hemp Association and the advocacy groups, because it was a small range of farmers that were together and trying to push this legislation and push this crop. In 2017, the entire United States only had 25,000 acres in the entire country that was approved to do industrial hemp. 33 of those acres were the Parker Farm Estate in Wilson, North Carolina. And it was the Industrial Hemp Association where we had to collectively work together. And so, look, let me give you a piece of difficulty about it at that time. Our rules within the United States was that the Department of Agriculture was going to allow you to grow as a pilot and figure it out on your own pocket and your own cash, but you are not allowed to buy any certified seed from the United States. The North Carolina Industrial Hemp Association, we got together collectively, we put our money together, and they actually procured seed from overseas, because in that time, after the 2014 legislation, the only seed that you could get was from overseas. And so the North Carolina Industrial Hemp Association, they actually leased connexes up on the Canada border that were DEA approved. We collectively put our money together. I think it was like a little over $100,000. The North Carolina Industrial Hemp Association went out as a cooperative group, bought all the seed, and went to the Canadian border. And then we had to wait for DEA to take their time to approve that seed to get to North Carolina. So sourcing during that time was really a cooperative effort. Either you were in or you were out. And just the pure joy and seeing the passion of everyone, it worked out beautifully.
And I'm noticing a common theme when I hear individuals who are in pilot programs or startup programs. It really just took a group of like-minded individuals coming together for a collective purpose. This isn't the first time I've heard someone saying, man, we had to get seeds from the Netherlands. We had to get seeds from Romania. You know, they got different hemp in different parts of South Africa. You know, the genetics, you know, because they didn't know, and we're still learning what grows in which climate zone.
That's right.
What doesn't. Just because it grew well in Southern Oregon doesn't mean it'll do as well in Georgia.
That's right.
That's right. So that leads me into this next question. So during your research and development, you're creating your own products. What was your idea to get you into formulating them yourself and becoming your own formulator versus just buying some white label products from a MSO or a large international distributor?
So I did a little of both, but initially, with our group, with the North Carolina Industrial Hemp Association, what was, in addition, I spoke earlier about the ailments that I was having, but what was even more concerning was in that area of Southeast Greensboro, of the amount of the folks that I grew up with that had cancer, right? I mean, the entire neighborhood was decimated by cancer. My mom has had multiple bouts of cancer. My father had multiple bouts of cancer. And so being a world traveler and you know, in the military and been around the world, I was like, look, no, it has to be in the food and the water. And so understanding what was going on, I reached out to a couple of friends in the North Carolina Hemp Association, and then they taught me about the Rick Simpson method of making CBD oil. And so they showed me how to do it. I started with a crock pot from college and a coffee maker from 1989 and a fan. And they taught me how to make it. Now, here's the story. My dad was having cancer that had was metastasizing through his body. His health was going down. You could see his energy. He was losing weight. My dad was very stoic, right?
Mhm.
If it didn't come from the doctor, don't talk to him about it. He had a scare and such. He eventually accepted to take some CBD oil. My friends from the Industrial Hemp Association showed me how to do it. We started giving it to my dad in its pure dose. And within 45 days, each time he went back for a test, every month they said that his the cancer cells were reducing, right? There were times where he was starting to sleep through the night. And so once I saw that, what occurred next was my father's physician retired. My father had a foreign physician in oncology, and the physician scared him so bad about alternative medicines that my dad completely stopped taking our version of the Rick Simpson oil, CBD style. And within 90 days, the cancer continued to progress until it was time for him to go home to see God.
I'm so sorry to hear that. And if anyone who is watching or someone who is even listening to this webinar, this is just another testament to the pure extracted form of the plant. It's very therapeutic. I've had countless patients that I've assisted. There's one of the patients who we in a passing, we learned a lot. It was a minor dealing with cancer. They had taken every route from chemo, bone marrow, radiation. They did it all, unsuccessful. And they came to me once. They told them, send him to hospice. And when done correctly and consistently, it does improve quality of life for patients. So even if in some cases where we know the prognosis may be terminal, even if it can ease quality of life during that transitional time for patients. I know we're kind of off the hemp a little bit. We're into the medical, but we're both medical guys. That's why I'm a big proponent for it for chronic pain, and I am a proponent for it for hospice care and terminal care. I tell people, no, we're not looking to eradicate said disease process. We're just trying to make the patient comfortable if we can, if they're not screaming out in pain, unable to sleep, because like I know, a patient in true pain is not going to sleep.
That's right.
They're usually restless.
That's right.
So, for a person looking for, how about this leads into the next question. So let's just say we have a person that comes to you that says, "Hey, I've been taking all these NSAIDs, taking all this ibuprofen and things. I'm looking to try something alternative based. I want to try a hemp product, but I'm scared. I don't want to get high. I'm against doing drugs, and I don't want to feel nothing. I just don't want to be in pain. What would you, from your product line, what would you suggest to those patients or to that patient?"
There's a methodology that I started, and I would encourage everybody to do. When a person who has discomfort communicates that to me, I'm going to understand that one of the first things I do is I go to the National Institute of Health website and I type in CBD and whatever symptom they're going through, right? Now, that's a lot of medical and scientific research and what have you, but it is the validity because the National Institute of Health had a patent on the cannabis plant from 1999 to 2019 and has over 20,000 different research efforts. So when it comes to what does CBD do for various different ailments, I start the communication to gain confidence from the particular customer, client, friend, family by providing them an excerpt of the research from the National Institute of Health. Now, once we do that and we have a level of confidence, when it comes down to the hemp plant, No, the industry now, I mean, I would say through social media, people are starting to understand between indica and sativa now,
Mhm.
right? But what is vitally important is to understand the terpene profile. The way I look at the cannabinoids, which there are at least 113 that have been identified over the last 30 years, they're like pathways, like the train conductor, right? All aboard, you get in, they go to a pathway, open the door, and get out. What gets out is that terpenes. And let me give you an example. When people smell lavender, their aroma allows them to relax. Terpenes are aromas and they have therapeutic properties. Well, lavender comes from this terpene called linalool, which is one of the dominant terpenes in every cannabis plant.
Mhm.
So when it comes to relaxation and pain, because those nerves are firing, I look for strains that are high in linalool, myrcene, and those terpenes that are known to relax and reduce anxiety.
Okay. So, well, let's just say they don't want to ingest anything. They say, I got a bum ankle from playing kickball, and it just kind of aches me, especially when it rains outside. Is there something that I can put on my skin? What kind of products do you have as far as topicals?
Yeah. So we have our New Life Pain Balm. And so I'll give you a story. Last January 2nd, I fell off a ladder and I busted my Achilles. It was so bad because during COVID that I couldn't get surgery for a month. When we came out of surgery, my doctor prescribed the opioids. I said, I'm not taking them. And all I took was a high strength of a indica dominant CBD oil and our pain balm. So let me tell you why pain balm is actually effective. When it comes to our products, we have researched how cannabis was used during ancient civilizations. And some of the oldest tabloids known that are written came from ancient Egypt. And so friends of mine that are Muslims, they translated Hebrew and they provided me those herbs and spices that they use in ancient civilizations for pain. Ashwagandha, Egyptian calendula. We talked about arnica, grapple root. These are what they call Ayurvedic or adaptogen type herbs that go India, Chinese medicine, ancient Egyptian medicine. So we went and we took those herbs, looking at it from the National Institute of Health perspective, and we took those herbs and now we've infused them either with a proper hemp seed oil or a proper CBD, full spectrum CBD profile. And then when you put it onto your skin, the largest organ in our body is what? The skin,
Mm.
right? So hemp seed oil and cannabinoids are fast absorbing in the skin. That's the way God made it, right? So if you don't like to ingest it, we do have friends and advocates of us that have debilitating diseases like dementia, Parkinson's, or what have you, and putting that in a pain balm and letting your skin absorb it, you can get it externally and have the same result or similar.
And especially in the communities of people who are physically active. I know that one of the fastest growing demographic, no, it is the fastest growing demographic in the cannabis and alternative wellness space is the 55 and older community. I've
Yes.
talked to so many seniors, and when they go to a dispensary for the first time, the bud tender is trying to sell them, the strongest THC content of flower, concentrates and dabs and edibles, and they get home and they take too much. Now they think they're having a stroke
Yes.
because they were trying to, make a commission, whatever the case may be, or whatever bonuses and incentives they may have had.
Yes.
And I had a elder, she was about 67, and she said, Stanley, I'm not trying to get high, I'm just trying to get well.
Yes.
Yeah, but if some of the products may get me high while I'm getting well, I'm open to it. But I want something that's a little bit less invasive because, like you said, there
Yes.
is a huge stigma in the medical community at this point, especially from my experience. A lot of it I feel is implicit bias. They
Yeah.
know it does, but they also know that it could potentially negate some of the medications that they're getting paid to prescribe. So if
Right.
it's not, it's going to take money out of my pocket. We're not going to put it in there. And
Right.
so this is a question I have for you now. So with your brand, your products, How was your business affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and what impact did it have on Piedmont Hemp Company?
So during COVID, it was a two-sided coin, right? Um, for COVID, we were on a marketing strategy that was already ahead of its time. And so when you're too early to market, you kind of meet resistance because people are like, where are you going with this? Right? We don't understand what you're talking about because the media had the misinformation from the media has everybody thinking that all cannabis is THC and THC is illegal, right? Um, from the military, what I call this is the best psychological operation that ever created because uh, um, uh, um, it's taboo by the pharmaceutical industry. So, as such, when it comes to the hemp plant and understanding what its real properties are, we've had to focus on a therapeutic perspective and we've had to stick to our guns because what we're trying to do is be able to educate properly to the masses, right? That all cannabis is not THC. Um, THC was when you go back and you do your traceability, going back before the 1930s, this cannabis plant, it was hemp dominated. In the 13 original colonies, hemp was mandatory to grow. It really wasn't until after Vietnam when we went back over and soldiers were leveraging THC dominant plants for therapeutic properties to help them in that atrocious war. And when they came back, then more and more plants are bred to increase the THC. But the true value in the plant, while THC is effective in some things, there are millions and millions of combinations of terpenes and the other cannabinoids that have a much better fit for your symptom than THC, right? THC is one molecule, only one, in the entire plant.
So for the products that don't have the THC, what type of alternative products can be made from those? So for somebody who doesn't know, it could potentially be, as you call it, your number two seller at your company. What other type products can be developed or derived from these cannabinoids?
So, all right, so we'll go into how Piedmont came into and the products that we have. Our very first product is ST Evolution, right? Because with the medications that my dad was having and his skin was real dry, we came out with the ST Evolution, which takes hemp seed oil, jojoba oil, patchouli oil, coconut oil, and then what we take is an unrefined shea butter, and we put all those together. Now, the ingredients in that pain balm is not that we put things together. It was because everything had a therapeutic effect from being antimicrobial, antibacterial, moisturizing, relieves eczema, and those type of things. So once we started with that, then we started getting into the tinctures. I'll agree. At first, I started white labeling tinctures, and because I understand compliance, the amount that I bought, and when I sent that off to a test to validate its potency, I couldn't find out what I bought and what I actually received.
Oh, wow.
What I received was inferior according to what was on the website, right, from a major company. So that's where I went from the credibility to start working on tinctures. So I started, we came out and I understood the certain things about their indicas, slow you down. They're good for anxiety, reducing depression, PTSD, and indicas are for folks like myself. I'm very creative. I like to be happy. I'm the happy scientist. I love doing this and I like my energy up. And in the middle of the day, you can go with a hybrid. So when it came out to our CBD tinctures, we broke it down into 3 levels. In the morning, rather than going to get your coffee or Red Bull or Monster drink, right? We're gonna get you a sativa dominant plant like a lifter to help boost your mood. After lunchtime, 3 o'clock, when people start getting on your nerves after 3 o'clock, right? You thinking about got to go home, got to go get the kids, right? The boss ain't answer my messages, everybody's calling me. Then you have a hybrid, because in the afternoon after lunch, you still need to have your focus there, but you need something to kind of taper down that anxiety that people are bringing to you, right?
Yep.
And then once you go home and you've cooked, you're ready to relax, there's nothing better than a nice indica to wind the evening down. So we broke our tinctures down that way. So by accident, we had created a hair serum, and I was in a rush filling a lot of orders one day, and by accident, I mixed it with alcohol and didn't realize it. And once I realized it, it was during COVID, right? And it wound up being the hand sanitizer. It was 95% alcohol, and I spilled a little bit of one of my other products in there. And when it hit my hand started to moisturize. And I was like, oh, what just happened? Right? Here you go, the hand sanitizer. Thank you, COVID.
So you're telling me that you've been able to successfully formulate your own hand sanitizer?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And again, this plant has unlimited potential.
Yes.
In hemp, we talk about everything from buildings to clothing to food. If you're familiar with Hemp and Fork, our board chairman, Eric Range, is the founder of Hemp and Fork. Be sure to get you some Hemp and Fork hemp hearts, ladies and gentlemen. They are delicious. You can put them on your salad. You can just eat them by themselves. They're amazing. I like to sprinkle mine on a sliced avocado and have myself a nice healthy snack. So as he said, we're talking about hemp hearts. He's talking about tinctures, topicals, and now we got hand sanitizer. So that actually leads me into what I want to ask you next. So looking at the current status of the CBD, the hemp industry, the cannabis industry, nationally and internationally, where do you see the CBD and the hemp industry going in the next 3 to 5 years?
With the coalition of groups and advocacy groups like M4MM, Hemp Industry Association, there are many of them. History repeats itself, right? In the 13 colonies, it was mandatory to grow hemp because hemp was wealth. So what I see over the next 3 to 5 years is a repeat of history, because there are over 50,000 different products that are known today, even more, that can grow from hemp. And let me give an example. The industry has the industry has separated us into two different sectors in cannabis, either medical and recreational or your hemp, right? And most people on the medical recreational side, they look at hemp as a step cousin, and they don't understand that hemp is the dominant plant, right? If you smoke your joint of THC and you smoke a joint of CBD, your high is going to go away, right? There's not one medical recreational plant in the world that wants a CBD plant 100 miles within their crop, because the CBD will make the THC diminish, right? So where we're going is, remember, hemp is about health, wealth, and clothing. What was linen before linen? It was hemp fiber.
Yep.
What was burlap sacks before burlap sacks? It was made with hemp. So the industry is very open for expansion, but we have to collectively get together to work together to advance the industry, right? And what we're really going against is the political policies of the country, right, that are suppressing and oppressing the advancement of the industry, right? There's a reason why they only talk about THC and CBD. I call those money molecules, right? They're not those are two most dominant cannabinoids, and industry has learned how to put a dollar figure on it. Now, THC is illegal, right? Why is Delta 8 THC, Delta 9 THC, Delta 10 THC, HHS, how is minor cannabinoids able to proliferate into every store and gas station in the country and THC is illegal? Well, let me give you the truth. It's because CBD is legal. The industry, the ones that can buy $500 million machines, what they're able to do is take a full spectrum CBD like we do at Piedmont Hemp Company and add some chemicals to it and readjust the molecular structure to emulate Delta 8 THC. It emulates Delta 9 THC. It emulates all these fattest minor cannabinoids, right? And so I believe we're going to see two sectors. One sector is going to follow with the fads in the front, and it's going to be the exotic cannabinoids, right? While they're not synthetic, they are modified to emulate something in the plant. We at Piedmont Hemp Company, from its purest perspective, we understand that the power in the plant is in the full spectrum perspective. And guess what? If you need CBD to make Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, and HHS, then guess what a wholesale market should be, right? We in Piedmont Hemp Company, we now have a vertical farming technology that we want to work with M4MM, the National Urban League, of how to leverage technology to grow more CBD dominant plants. Because THC is THC dominant. That's for the rich people. That's for the growers. That's for those private industries. But we can have 10,000 farmers in one state growing hemp just to replace tobacco like we used to, right? We don't care what they do with it. I mean, we do. We don't want them to genetically modify it. But for the new exotic minor cannabinoids like Delta 8 and Delta 10, it requires CBD. So the industry is wide open for proliferation.
Absolutely, especially on the technology side. Similar to what you said about like pilot programs, there is a lot of funding that's becoming available. Now, a lot of these funding have windows for application to get this funding. Anytime that I get grants sent over, I try to send them to people who are in the state, if it's a particular state grant, because there's a short window on this, ladies and gentlemen. But there is going to be more funding that comes down the pipeline. Absolutely. My goal is to see more hemp building materials, hemp homes, hemp structures. And the reason for that is the price of wood in some areas has tripled. Hemp is carbon sequestering. So there are some states that offer carbon credits. And what I mean by that, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, hemp buildings, we build this out of hemp, this entire structure, will actually reduces the carbon in the atmosphere around it. It's antimicrobial, it's antibacterial. It won't mold, it's not going to mildew. So this is why I feel that the eco properties, the eco efficiency properties, and the insulated properties for me are the future of hemp. And the reason for that is we're looking for new ways to build sustainable buildings, but reduce carbon emissions. And if you don't know what those are the off gases or chemicals that every material, every building, everything that's painted, gives off. And with now all of everybody going green, we've got to protect Mother Nature. Hemp could potentially be what saves the United States. I have a medical background. I spent 7.5 years as a firefighter paramedic. And I've always thought about how can we introduce hemp products or hemp derived products into emergency medicine, trauma dressings, wound dressings, gauze, bandages, things of that nature. There's already hemp sanitary products out there for females who don't want to use the cotton bleach-based products in their bodies, because we are seeing more and more people, and not just in one particular demographic, but we're just seeing more and more people go find things that are natural. I don't think I heard elderberry more than I did during COVID. You know, there are people who only berry they knew was strawberries. And we have people now taking elderberry. You know, there's people who never would have taken something alternative, and they're using sea moss and sea moss gel,
Yes.
you know, and natural anti-inflammatories. I want to
Yes.
shout out to my guy Breeze Jones from High Rollers. He told me about it several years ago. I was like, man, I have no osteoarthritis, and he was like, get you some red sea moss, and I was like, out of the ocean, and he was like, yeah. Let me get some red sea moss. So I was like, okay. I got my hands on some sea moss. The person I got it from was able to whip it into a gel, and I just added it to my smoothies. And I realized that after jujitsu, my knees wouldn't hurt as bad, and my back wouldn't hurt as bad, especially when I took it getting up in the morning. So we're going to see a true expansion of this hemp industry, from car parts and seat belts to something you and I discovered. You know, we're talking about, you know, the potential Department of Defense
Yes, sir.
related.
Yes, sir.
It's immaculate right now that schools are offering scholarships for people to go to school for agriculture, but a lot of those scholarships are going unfulfilled.
Yes.
So if you're watching this and you have someone, my son's in college right now, and he's in school for industrial environmental science. And when I asked him what he wanted to do, because he's actually helped us out with some of these broadcasts before, he's helped us out with tech support. He said, Dad, I want to save the world. And you know, from coming from a high school student, I'm like most kids, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, an athlete, I want to be rich. My son's, I want to save the world. And he said, by learning more about the environment and just from helping me out and taking him on some trips with me in this role, my son has learned that there's going to be a lot of technology that come down with hemp, you know, automated hemp services. And as you said, your vertical farming, your vertically integrated farming systems, this is going to be important. So if you're watching and you have property and you say, hey, I don't know how to till a field. I don't know how to work a plow. I don't own a tractor, but I got 17 acres back here.
Call Piedmont Hemp Co.
Call Piedmont Hemp Company, because they could actually help you out. Because as you said, with the Connex boxes, we may have some viewers that don't know what a Connex box is. If you've ever seen the metal storage containers that people are now retrofitting into homes and storefronts, in the military, we call them Connex boxes.
Yeah.
On my second deployment, EOD, I think Mobile Unit 6 or 8, they use that as their office, their little tactical, you know, room. They had all kind of little passcodes to get in it. It was secure. So there are multiple ways to grow this plant, and they don't all involve going outside and being in the hot sun. Because as he stated, as more people want these pure CBD-based flowers and leaf products, they're better cultivated indoors. I know the sun is great. We need it. I love it. Sun grown is good when you're going large scale. But when you want that craft strain, as you said, you know the exact strain and the cultivar that you want to cultivate, you're going to want to cultivate it the same way every time with the same environmental structure. And with those storage containers, that's possible, because you can't control Mother Nature. You don't know it's going to rain, when it's going to flood, when you're going to get a frost. But with those containers, you can control whether they have power or not. So making sure of that. So we're going to start kind of getting ready to wrap up here, but I do have another question, and to me is one of the most important questions.
Okay.
And before we get to that, I did see some comments regarding the I think it was beta carotene or linalool. Yes, does it demonstrate efficacy for reducing pain? Beta and alpha carotene has much more research suggests helping patients manage pain. Thank you, Patty TB Nunpa Winyan. I appreciate your comment. And today we're not going over exact science today, because what we've found is we do understand that different strains have different effects on different patients, because everyone's endocannabinoid system is different. What responds to him and keeps him up and energetic may be something that actually has a sedative effect on me. So with the National Institute of Health does have a lot of research. There are also some journals out of Canada and Israel that people can refer to. And I see that they also state it can't be reduced to indica, sativa, and hemp. We do understand that. Thank you for your comment. But today was the cut and dry, the base part. This is a deep conversation when it comes to hemp, phytocannabinoids, novel and synthetic minor cannabinoids. So we could really take it technical.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We'll save that for the symposium this summer. But I want to make sure that we got to those and address those comments. I appreciate your comment, and she is correct. There is a lot more that we could expand upon, but we only have an hour tonight,
Right.
and yeah, we can have a whole episode on just
Oh,
lab.
we can have a 24-hour rotation. We can go all night if they want to. We only have 50 minutes.
And so, getting back to the last question, let's just say we have someone watching this video.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone forwards it, they watch it on YouTube a week from now, and they sit up and they look at their significant other and they say, I want to get into the hemp industry. What would be the first piece of advice that you would give someone who at this stage of the game is looking to enter into the hemp space?
So I would say they need to understand, first off, which side are they going on, right? Are you going to go on the medicinal side, recreational side, or the therapeutic side, right? Very distinct, even though it's along the same lines, they have very distinct outcomes, right? From Piedmont Hemp Company, we decided to go on the therapeutic side. Mm-hmm. Medicinal and recreational, cannabis users of marijuana, it's a much more legislative and harder way to go. And so when you talk about cannabis, I want to let everybody know this. Cannabis is one plant, right? One plant. There are many subspecies. And let me give an example. An apple is an apple is an apple. However, how many subspecies of apples are there? Fuji, Honeycrisp, Granny Smith. There's an apple, but they all have different profiles, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So when you come in the cannabis industry, right, are you going to medical, recreational? Or are you going on the therapeutic side, which is where we are? And now on the therapeutic side, you can break that down. Some people want to go into textile, right? They want to grow for hemp fiber, hemp hurd, hemp seed to make hemp seed oil in all those different areas. Or you can go on the side where you're dealing with where we are. One of the sides is full spectrum CBD, right? So you have to figure out which avenue that you're going to go into. And whatever avenue you're going to go into, master that avenue first before you branch out. Okay. So as an example, with Piedmont Hemp Company, because we were dealing in health and wellness, we focused on the CBD dominant plants and full spectrum and understanding the therapeutic properties to help solve your emotional desired outcome. There are folks that I'm working with. Their desire is to focus solely on the hemp growing side for fiber, hempcrete, and those building type materials, right? Which can be an outdoor grow, and the certifications and the compliance is less stringent. Yes. So first off, figure out which avenue you're going to go to, right? Then once you figure out which avenue you're going to go into, then focus on your branding, right? What is your branding going to be about? What are you going to represent? What are you trying to achieve, right? So when you look at the Piedmont Hemp Company logo, as an example, our branding is a cannabis leaf, and in the center is North Carolina, because Piedmont Hemp Company originated in North Carolina. Now, people want to say, okay, well, what does Piedmont Hemp Company mean? The definition of Piedmont means the foothill of the mountains. And when you're on the East Coast and you're in North Carolina, which is the widest foothill, Piedmont Gas, Piedmont Airlines, Piedmont Electricity, if you're Piedmont
Hospital.
Right. But guess what? The actual Piedmont mountain range extends from New Jersey to Georgia, right? It's the mountain range, it's the foothill. So initially in our branding, Piedmont Hemp Company was North Carolina. Then when I learned a little bit more 4 months later, I said, no, it's in our name. We want to be the major premier supply chain integrator of industrial hemp across the Piedmont, which extends from New Jersey to Georgia. And then 2 years ago, I said, you know what? There's a Piedmont in every country. We're going global. It's in the name. So in the branding, make sure your branding means something. Make sure the branding is something that your users can capture, right? Your logos, your websites, come up with your thing. What is it that you're trying to achieve? Because the biggest thing you're going to come to the mention you say cannabis or hemp, you have a 95% chance that the person standing across to you is going to put you in a medical recreational department. And in DC, DMV, where we have heavy federal government, heavy military, heavy what we call the military industrial complex, which has traditionally been against this plant, we have been able to separate ourselves from a medicinal and recreational side, which has reduced the anxiety when someone sees hemp or Piedmont hemp, that they're going to subliminally walk around me before they walk past me, right? So what's important is to come up with which lane you're going to go into, research your lane. Please link up with advocacy groups, please, because I'm telling you, this industry changes by the political affiliation. Okay, Virginia is trying to go into a whole different direction, right? Because of the administration. So become advocacy, get involved with advocacy groups, pick your lane, get involved with advocacy groups, focus on your logo, and educate, 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 educate.
Thank you for that, Mr. Parker. So if you're watching and you've been thinking about creating your brand, or you've already got that dry erase board full of notes, which we all have them.
Yes.
It's funny, but it's serious. Most plans, most businesses start from a little scratch piece of paper, the back of a napkin, a stick-it note, but it all starts with a thought and a vision. And so if you're looking to get into this industry, find your purpose, but find your target demographic. Who are you looking to sell to? Everybody wants to sell to everybody. Find your lane, just like a specialty in medicine. Some people go into obstetrics and some people go in cardiology. They find their lane. So find your lane, find your logo, build your brand. And as he said, if it's something that you're passionate about, that has meaning to you, I personally feel you're going to push more behind it. Many of you know me as the Canamedic, and I came up with that because I was in chronic pain, and it was during our legislative session, and it was late one night, and I asked myself, if I could ask any legislator tomorrow about cannabis a question, what would I ask them? And I said, can I medicate? And that is actually how I came up with Canamedic. People thought because I was a paramedic, it just kind of tied in. That was the question I want to ask them. So find your purpose, build your brand. Before I get you out of here, please tell our viewers how they can find you, where they can locate you, and how can they become affiliates, order, or even potentially buy themselves into Piedmont Hemp.
All right. So thank you for that. So we have our website, PiedmontHempCo.com is our website. Right now, we are doing in 8 weeks, we're going to do a complete revamp of our total marketing strategy. So the way you see Piedmont Hemp Company today is going to be changing in about 8 weeks. And some of the capabilities that we're going to be adding that are already in place, we just have to modify our virtual presence. Wholesale is going to be available. We already have our affiliate marketing ambassador program that's already in place. We're going to be working on white labeling. And for a physical presence, we have our products at the Potomac Mills Mall at the Black American Market. So if you're in Northern Virginia, DMV, head on down to the Potomac Mills Mall and the Black American Market. We have our display there. And so our presence is going to continue to grow as we evolve and we integrate with M4MM. White labeling is going to be a major effort in about 8 weeks. So hit us up at PiedmontHempCo.com. We'll be glad to explain to you all the new and exciting capabilities that we have. We just signed a contract with Impact Marketing Group, who was our mentor at Texas A&M Entrepreneurship School. So our marketing and everything is about to take off. Come with us, ask any question. We're open. Call us. We're there for you.
Thank you so much. This has been my guest, Mr. Keith Parker from Piedmont Hemp Company. Thank you, Keith, and I'm sure we'll be seeing each other very soon because
Yes,
I
sir.
do want you to come down for the summer symposium. I would love for you to bring that energy, bring that passion, but also bring some of that hand sanitizer so we keep our hands clean while we're rubbing elbows with the hemp elite.
So Stan, let them know that for those that have been hurt by the atrocious storms in Georgia, Piedmont Hemp Company is sending boxes of our hand sanitizers down because we know your infrastructure is down and we're coming to help. So if you're dealing with
I
Stan,
appreciate
we
that.
have our hand sanitizer coming down to try to keep you clean and get through these hard times.
And I genuinely appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you know my hometown of Griffin, Georgia, yes, I'm a Georgia boy, I'm a Southerner. We were hit by a series of devastating tornadoes about 2 weeks ago. Thousands were without power, many for over a week. Some of the hardest hit areas were the inner city and the poorer communities. So we've just been pulling together. We have a term where I'm from. It's called Griffin Strong because we're from the Grip and we are remaining strong. And I appreciate everyone who has reached out, all the companies who have sent products, people who have sent ponchos, flashlights, feminine products, diapers. I genuinely appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And I do want to shout out to some of the nonprofits who are actually out there working. I appreciate Manna from Above. It is a food pantry. Their efforts allowed me to help feed over 20 families with complete meal kits that could get them at least a week or two with groceries. Urban UOA, Urban Outreach Association, all the churches. I appreciate everybody back home. And we're going to stay positive, and that's where it's coming into the hemp because I'm going to propose a hemp revitalization project. Please stay tuned. I'm going to need everyone's help. I see my mom down there. Hey, love you, Mom, because Griffin is really needing it. And right now, we have a unique opportunity to take this tragedy and make it a triumph by potentially coming in with industrial hemp to build some of these houses in these poor communities. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been our episode. I want to tell you about the rest of our programs here at Minorities for Medical Marijuana. We have our Sow the Land, which was tonight's episode. We also have our expungement series. We do our Project Clean Slate, which is an organizational event to where we go around the country and actually do record expungements because there are people who cannot get into the cannabis industry because of previous convictions. There are states that have legislation where if you have a previous drug charge, you can't participate in hemp. So that program really goes around the country, helps clean up these records to really improve people's quality of life. We have our HBCU Ready, Set, Grow program. So if you are in an HBCU or you're an HBCU student, please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. We would love to have your efforts and see if we can get a chapter on your campus. We have our M Procurement program, which is our national procurement program. I want to make sure you're in there as well, Mr. Parker.
Yes, sir.
If it's not, it needs to be tomorrow. I can email you over the link. And that is our free procurement program here at Minorities for Medical Marijuana. If you're a product supplier, if you're a service provider, please enter your business into our procurement portal. So when these major companies are reaching out and they're looking for small businesses, they're looking for female-owned businesses, if they're looking for female, minority, veteran-owned businesses, make sure that you're there and we can get you the recognition and potentially get you a contract. We have Simone Cason, we have Eric Banks, and he heads up our legislative efforts through his Banks and Company arm. But we also have, I see it, Auntie, we're going to get you that hand sanitizer. We also have our Health is Wellness program, headed by our National Program Director, Nicole Buffon. And that is one of my favorite shows because healthcare is my background. You know, healthcare is my passion, and that's what got me into the position that I'm in. So please stay tuned. We've also got our Veterans Outreach Program. We're going to be putting together some efforts this year. So if you're a veteran, if you want to support a veteran, please tap in because we need to hear from you. You can find us at minoritiesformedicalmarijuana.org. So please go on, look at what we have to offer. Like as he said, find you an advocacy group. If Minorities for Medical Marijuana isn't your fit, find another one. We're all in this together. If you join us, we would love to have you, and we're always looking for more hands to come in with us. If you offer a service, if you have something that you do in the industry, please come in, because I can assure you that our president and founder, Ms. Roz McCarthy, would love to have you on the team. We can always use more people for the week of MJBizCon. So next from Sow the Land this summer, stay tuned, because we're going to be announcing the actual dates and locations of our Sow the Land Hemp Symposium. For attendees that came out last year, it was a sold out event, and we had a variety of speakers from different aspects of the cannabis industry, from elected officials all the way to extractors. So if that's something that you think you'd like to be a presenter, a speaker, my email is stanley@m4mmunited.org. Please send me your information, what you do, and maybe a bio link to your company, and we'll see if we can add you as a speaker. So again, my name is Stanley Atkins II, your National Director of Hemp Farming and Technologies here with Minorities for Medical Marijuana. We want to thank you for joining us. We want to thank you to my guest, Mr. Keith Parker. It has been nothing short of a pleasure. And stay tuned for our Black Farmers highlight for Black History Month during the month of February. Thank you. Good night.